Scott! I declare bankruptcy!
Bears eats Battlestar Galactica.
Depression? Isn't that just a fancy word for feeling bummed out?
What, you ignorant slut!
Not only the years we've been at war, but from the moment, as a child, when we realized that the world could be conquered.
You're listening to another episode of the Great Scott Office Podcast. I'm Jay Ray, and with me is my deskmate Jacob.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
We are here, very excited to bring you more goodness from Office Season 5.
Yes, and we're using a new recording software today, so if you like how it sounds, please let us know so we can figure out if we want to, get the premium version or whatever.
Yeah. What was it, 2 episodes ago or something, we had that catastrophic technical issue where I sounded like a robot chipmunk the whole time.
Right, and so we're doing everything we can to avoid that.
Yeah.
And also to avoid having to re-record episodes, because re-recording a 2-hour episode is really difficult.
Well, there's so much spontaneity in our conversations when we do it. It's tough to recreate the magic the second time.
Yep.
Well, great advancements in technology like that are thanks to our lovely sponsors over at Patreon. And if you want to become a Patreon of us, visit patreon.com/brokenjars. We just opened up some new tiers for different people. And the big one is stickers, right?
Yes. Well, I don't know if it's... Well, we have physical things we can give you. So if you want stickers, it's... Yeah, right there. If you're listening on the audio, find our YouTube and you can see the sexiness that is our stickers.
Boom.
Yeah. So if it's $3 a month, I'll send you about 10 stickers for that, and you can also get on our Discord for that and all sorts of other fun stuff.
Yeah, personalized recording messages
for $8.
Backstage sneak peeks of episodes. That's $20, something like that. It's
right.
$20. Mm-hmm. It's great. It's very exciting. We're all excited. Introducing some new technology to the network is a fun thing to do, and now we got some swag. If you are not a Patreon and want an opportunity to get some stickers, some of the Broken Jars folks will be coming out to different conventions across the country. And Jacob, you're going to San Diego, right?
Yep. Yeah, going to the big one.
When is that?
Preview night's on July 19th, so I guess technically it starts on July 20. Yeah, I was emailing everybody this week like, my reservations are still good, right? Because I made everything back in April. Like the day I got the ticket, I booked everything. So
yeah.
So I double checked like Southwest, make sure my flights were still good, make sure my Amtrak was still good.
Yeah, that's funny. But there you go. So if you want to meet a bona fide member of the Broken Jars Broadcast Network.
Yeah, and even if you're just in the area, just hit me up. We'll go get some beers or something. It'll be fun.
It'll be good times. I'm not going there. That's too far. but we got some East Coast cons that'll be coming up later in the year, and that'll be fun to try to orchestrate that kind of thing.
Yep.
But enough of that. We're going on a lecture circuit.
I remember really hating these episodes, but I actually kind of like them, like on this watch through.
That is fair, mostly because I still might feel how you feel before you enjoyed them. They're fine, but we'll get into the nitty-gritty, I suppose.
I mean, it's not like they all of a sudden became 5 out of 5s for me. I was dreading watching these, and rewatching them, like, oh, that wasn't so bad.
You made them sound like a 5 out of 5.
No, I just like them more than I thought I would.
You're coming out strong for them, is all I'm saying.
All right, so lecture circuit, we're going to do, it's a 2-parter, which it's a true 2-parter. I mean, it really just feels like one big episode. So We're going to treat them as one episode today. So the cold open for this is a phone guy came in and showed Michael how to turn the phones into a PA function throughout the office, and he is using them in the way we would fully expect Michael Scott to use a PA function.
It is terrifying. And I would also hate it. Some stuff that, he talks about, he's announcing people as if they're sports athletes, right? He's pretending he's a pilot.
Right. And he's like, the office will be flying out of 2 stories. If you look out the left window, you can see Vance Refrigeration, and Creed looks out the window.
Yeah, as if he's expecting to see something a little different. And of course, the funny one is the inadvertent conversation he has over the PA system with his doctor, right?
Right. He asking if he can stick his mole with a pen.
It's terrible.
It's like, no, I haven't been squeezing it, but can I stick it with a pen? Like, he knows enough to not be like squeezing it, but he really wants to mess with it,
Yeah.
And I guess we all have that, right? At least I'm really bad about it. Like, if I've got a scab, it's everything inside of me to not pick at it,
Yeah. Yeah, I got one from moving my brother. And it was doing good for a couple of days, but all today I'm just like ripping at it and stuff, and I'm going to have this fun little...
I don't know if you can see it, but I got a small cut on my head up here from, I was doing some work on my car yesterday, and I guess, I don't remember nicking myself, but I guess I nicked myself with something. So I got this little scab up here. I'm like, just don't think about it, and you won't be picking it, because it's going to be terrible tomorrow if I'm like in the office and I start like picking at it and it starts bleeding and all.
Yeah, wouldn't make people want to eat lunch with you, I suppose. Well, so then Jim saves the day, though. He grabs his scissors, walks in, and pretends that he forgot something, right?
Which, kind of. What would he have forgotten, right?
I know. Like he dropped a phone number on the ground, or his pager, or I don't know. A particular pencil he likes doing numbers with, I don't know. But he snips the cord and walks out, and Michael continues to do it none the wiser.
Right, but he does the like what was the intro for Michael Jordan when he was playing for the Bulls.
Oh yeah.
And the only thing I can gather, because it doesn't seem like Michael would really be into basketball that much. Right. I mean that's not true. I mean we did have basketball episode, but I was kind of wondering if he got that from Space Jam.
Oh, I could see that because that's probably his favorite thing. I don't see enough Space Jam mentioned on like Prime TV. I think that's a real problem. Yeah. So the plot of our episode here is that Michael, being the only manager who runs a successful branch that still makes money in the company, is tasked by David Wallace to visit other branches to kind of give inspirational speeches and tips as to how to, keep sales up, all that jazz, right?
Right, yeah.
The first shot we see is Michael walking out of one of those skeezy "My Name is Earl" hotels, and then he knocks on another door, and then Pam comes out. That's another
show that doesn't get talked about enough as "My Name is Earl."
Yeah, and they ripped it from our grasp too soon. I remember watching it on Netflix, and like the season finale is like one of those like big cliffhangers because they're trying to figure out some important piece of information, spoiler free here, and then the show got canceled. What the hell's the point, man? Jeez. Anyways, so you're trying to figure out why Michael and Pam are together at a motel, and instantly Michael's like, "We are running away together.
We have eloped."
Yeah. But yeah, no, I guess Pam is like,
we've robbed a bank. We're on the land. I think he said land. We're on the land.
I think he said land. Yeah. But yeah, Pam's like his on-the-road assistant and chauffeur. It's weird. Why is she the chauffeur? Or is that his choice?
You got to figure he's sitting in the back. But I did the math. So she's getting time and a half, 24/7 for 3 days. This is without the trip up to Nashua. So I don't know if that. But just for what she said there, she got 108 hours or 2.7 weeks of pay for 3 days.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Yeah, so I mean, it would be tough to deal with Michael, that much Michael, but for 3 weeks of pay, basically 3 weeks of pay in a day, that's pretty solid.
Yeah, that's it's almost worth it, right?
I mean, I would do it. I would be like, here, Michael, here's lots of alcohol and an Ambien. Go pass out.
Well, we haven't really seen him perform his speech as well, so it probably wouldn't have made much of a negative impact.
Well, yeah, but it would be the nighttime, right? You know, it'd be the after hours. That'd be hard to handle.
Oh, sure. Yeah, the after hours lecture circuit.
Oh, that would have been a good episode.
I don't know. He would have really been pressuring Pam to wear something a little...
oh, yeah.
Blades of Glory-ish. So he's visiting basically everywhere except for Nashua, because that's where Holly was transferred to.
Right.
Hey, do you think that was a request from Michael, or do you think David said you don't have to go to Nashua because, or you shouldn't go because?
I mean, David doesn't seem like the guy who would care that much.
Right.
You know, maybe like I don't think he would say to Michael, "Hey, look, I know things are raw, so don't go." I think he might have given him the option, but beyond that, I would assume it would be a request from Michael.
Right. Sorry. Okay. Well, so he doesn't have to go there. So the first place we see them go, and I don't think it's the first place on their trip, is what the hell is it called? Utica.
Right, and this feels like a bit of a retcon because Utica's not that far, right? Because we saw them do it in Branch Wars in season 3, and they did it in a day, you know, back and forth in a day. So, but they're obviously on the road to a hotel, and it wouldn't make sense for them to go somewhere farther away to come back towards Scranton. So it would make sense probably that the first branch they would go to would be Utica, with the what we saw in Branch Wars. So it feels like it's much farther away.
Right, and it really feels like the Scranton branch is the southernmost branch that they've got, anyways, based on like maps we've seen, right?
Yeah, it would seem that way, unless you count like New York, because New York is southeast of
that's fair.
Scranton.
That's right. Yeah,
but I don't know how much sales they actually do out of there. Is there like a New York branch that's different from corporate, or is there like a sales team in corporate?
Right.
Well, actually, it would make sense to have a corporate sales team that would assist with the big sales, but we never hear about that. So, like a
nationwide provider or something, right?
Hey, big hitters, sort of like what Jan was trying to do in oh god, the name of the episode, the Client. The one where they go to Chili's.
With Lackawanna County.
Right. It's kind of like that. You would kind of assume that a company like that would have a couple really big hitters on the national level.
Right. To like come in and like be the ringers as opposed to having the local reps try to figure out the logistics of doing some type of nationwide or even statewide kind of distribution plan, right?
Or multi-state. That kind of stuff. Because you'd figure, the Northeast isn't that big, right? If you were to drop a 4-hour circle around my house, I could be in like 4 states in Canada. So, so the odds are there would be a lot of multi-state companies that they would be servicing.
Right. That's fair. To the point of why the hotel room, the office wikia does say that the first stop is the Utica branch. So like you're saying, it's close enough that it's just kind of weird that they would leave the night before. I mean, maybe that's what it was, though. They got a night before so they could get in when the office opened, but they show up late, so it's not like it matters. But
right, yeah, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So to do that,
yeah. Nope, that's fair.
Because at least in Branch Wars, it felt like it was like 3 or 4 hours away.
Right. Like they were gone the whole day by the time they came back.
And it's not like, or at least it didn't seem like Michael's presentation was a day-long thing. If it was supposed to be like 8 to 5 for an entire day, I could see going there the night before. That I can see, but for something that seemed like it should have been like 2 to 3 hours tops, it just really doesn't make a lot of sense.
Right. So, right, the importance of the Utica branch is that Karen Filippelli works there, and she's now the regional manager. Also makes you wonder what the hell a regional manager is, because, like, what region? It seems like she's just the manager of that branch. Like, there's nothing regional about it, per se. They don't have, like, sub-offices or, you know?
Right. It's a title. It's the manager of the branch.
Right,
essentially.
Right. But there's a big, important piece of information we learn as soon as Karen shows up is that she is preggers.
Right.
Mad pregnant, yo. And Michael's like, is it Jim's, right?
What are you doing? I'm trying to figure out the last time you had sex with Jim.
Yeah. But we find out it's, she's got a husband and she's married and all that jazz, and it's a totally non-Jim related pregnancy.
Right.
Which makes sense because it was like forever ago.
So this episode aired about 2 months before the first Parks and Rec episode aired. So I kind of wonder if like they brought her back in just because she was working for NBC again. It was like, hey, you're around again. Let's toss you in an episode.
Yeah, that's a good. I always imagined she left for Parks and Rec, but like you're saying, it's like it was actually like a year and change since she left. But if the first season was in production in 2008, then Parks and Rec aired in 2009, maybe. I don't really.
Yeah, I mean, you'd figure it takes at least a year to get a full even though the first season of Parks and Rec was short.
Right.
It takes a while to get that off the ground.
Yeah. So that's why I figured she left. Also, aside from like the story needs or whatever. But,
right. Well, I always kind of figured that's why they wrote her out.
Right.
Even though it would have been hard to keep her unless she was just more. You see her more at the other branch, for a couple episodes here and there.
Well, and also too, I mean, because it's the same creative team on both shows, so it would have been weird to see the same actress, I think, in two shows that are
right, and you
so similar in style.
Probably would figure that Parks and Rec would have started sooner if it wasn't for the writer's strike.
Right.
That pushed everything back 6 months or 8 months or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's enough non-office
talk. So we get into the actual lecture itself, and we start talking about his what do you call it? Like his name,
his mnemonic devices.
Yeah, his mnemonic devices. That's it. And he comes up with horribly offensive nicknames for everybody, but he does remember their names. So it's one of those things that you probably don't verbalize as you're working it out. It's just a mental thing.
Right. And, we learn in Michael Scott Paper Company, he has all these bits of information that he color codes on in his Rolodex. Right. And it's all about how he shouldn't say things. And I wonder if he ever verbalized this and realized he should never actually say it out loud.
Right. Well, I guess he kind of does, because there's that one sticker specifically that Dwight says out loud, and Michael had a sticker on it. Green. Green means go on and shut up about it.
Right.
Yeah.
He's like, pretty much everything means don't talk about it.
Yeah. I didn't write down any of the nicknames he gives off, but they are funny.
Oh, like Shirty, Lazy Eye, Mole, Mexico,
Sugar Boobs. Sugar Boobs is always the memorable one. But and Karen even goes so far as to say, that's offensive. And he also tries to make them do the exercise with each other. They're like, well, we already know each other's names. Good, it'll be easy then, But usually not how that would work. And Karen ends up calling off the meeting early.
She's just not having none of that shit, man. Like, she worked for Michael for a year, and she was like, nope, none of this.
No, she hated it. So they end up in Karen's office. And that's where we find out about her husband, and there's a picture of them together. It's the hot dog picture, right?
Hot dog, and she's like a hamburger.
Yeah, it's terrible. Very corny.
So, meanwhile, back in Scranton, Dwight and Jim are now the head of the party planning committee, because apparently one head gets too powerful. And how the party planning committee had power is beyond me, but that's a whole other discussion.
Right.
But they forget Kelly's birthday. And she is pissed off.
And like by a full day. So like it's the day after now. Kelly is upset and livid, and it was terrible. So she's mad and she's calling them names, and it's great. This is a great battle to watch, I think. Kelly versus the salespeople.
Well, and the thing is you could tell. Well, there's a great talking head about how they're like, this is the stupidest thing ever, and how they both hate it. And you can tell they don't want to be doing it, but they don't want to do a bad job, and they're actually upset that they forgot Kelly's birthday. Right. So it's that internal conflict of, we really don't want to be here, but we're sad we upset one of our friends too. At least that's what I got from Jim.
Right. So then they go and set out to throw a belated party for her to kind of win back her good graces and such. And then Phyllis is constantly in the background, like watching them with like some type of like
comment.
Yeah.
There's always a theme.
Yeah. So the first thing they end up, so they set out to like decorate, right?
Which is one of the more iconic, just like pictures you see of the office. It is your birthday, period.
Yeah.
It is a statement of fact.
And this is our first kind of insight into how Jim and Dwight are going to pull this party off, basically, right?
Right.
They're not on the same page at all whatsoever.
Well, I mean, Dwight's trying. You know, the balloons, the brown and gray balloons, they match the carpet.
Yeah, I know, which is like a crazy, like it's funny to think that that's what he thinks makes a good party decoration. Like it's not to spruce up the place, it's just to make more of the same. So browns and grays.
We kind of see this again in down the line where he wants to buy the figurine at the mall, and they won't let him in. And he's like, you know, he's wearing yellow and yellow like he always does. And they tell him to spruce it up. He's like, what, don't match colors to look more fancy?
Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, I think that is a pretty good impression of what a unfashionable man would say makes fashion, right?
Right.
It's like, okay, well, then everything will just match. I remember I went to college with a guy who wore a brown T-shirt and brown shorts one day, and they were like the same. And it was like he came in and we were all talking, and then it got real quiet, and I was like, "You look like a giant shit," because he did, and that's kind of the problem walking around in the same colors. Someone's going to call you a poop probably. So they go to decorate. We find out that Jim is supposed to be collecting money from everybody. He's only got $6, which is the amount of money that they put in. But he's still working on it, so it's okay. Let's see.
And there's also a C storyline, at least for the first part, where Stanley brings in an attractive African-American lady, and Andy really wants her. So he's trying to get the client from Stanley, yeah. He comes in singing this really ridiculous song about the coffee, and
yeah, this storyline makes me feel real uncomfortable. It's like, I don't know. So Andy approaches Stanley and like gives him a stern talking to because they're bros, right? It's like, and Stanley should be like, giving Andy yeah, exactly. It's nuts. And then Stanley. So I think it's in a deleted scene, but I think Stanley actually has a talking head where he explains like it's not that big a sale, or he didn't think the sale was going through, or it's like one of those things. And then what Andy ended up trading him was like more beneficial than what the possibilities would have been if
right. And it kind of makes me wonder. So Andy, we find out, is not doing very well as a salesman. Right. So do you think that maybe he had been trading clients to try and get things he wanted, and so that's why he was good in Stanford and now is terrible in Scranton because he's traded away his clients?
You know, that is a funny concept, and I could see him do it, but as also because it seemed like Stanley's idea, you know. But to your point, it could be like because Stanley knows this is usually how this goes with Andy, right? So okay.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Yeah, because that's another like weird retcon they do is like make Andy terrible at his job, even though he was like the number 2 before Jim came on board, right?
Right, and yeah, that's something I would really wish there was more background to. Like, how is he good in Stanford but terrible in Scranton?
Right.
Maybe he just had to. Maybe he was competing with Dwight, right?
Yeah, that's true. So like it put him off or whatever. I mean, he really goes downhill after the anger management. So maybe that could be a thing.
Yeah, maybe he wasn't as assertive. So that's a
And
good
lets
point.
people roll
Maybe
over him, right?
maybe it's anger management's fault.
Boom, there it is. And that was a Dunder Mifflin, you know, thing. They were like, you have to go to anger management.
Well,
now you're terrible at your job.
Well, I'm sure it was a choice: go to anger management or get fired. You know.
But at what cost, man?
Well, it's cheaper to send him to anger management than to replace him, you know, because then
That's
you
good.
risk losing all of his clients,
Right.
which I think happens anyway. But
Yeah. So the Julia thing I'm not crazy about, but it happens. And also another weird thing: why are they meeting in the lunchroom?
you would think they would be in the conference room. Like
Right.
every other client meeting we see, they're in the conference room.
Yeah. So it's a little weird. I mean, they're not doing it at his desk. It's in their break room, and I guess presumably it's not anywhere near lunchtime. But yeah, it's just kind of a weird thing because you're sitting with possible food stains and stuff, and there's a stinky microwave over there. Not the
I'm
messy
just
one.
going to pretend that Creed is doing something crazy in the conference room because that's the most enjoyable scenario for why they're not in the conference room.
Well, it's Kelly's party.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Maybe it is. That's right. The conference room is set up for Kelly's party.
But similarly, and I know that when they have parties, it's traditionally in the conference room. But like, I feel like Jim would be of sound body and mind. Actually, Dwight would be too. To be like, no, this is a place of business. Let business happen in the proper place, and let's move the party elsewhere. But I think it's just like a weird thing. The two stories were written and aired together, but they're kind of like just meant to be separate concepts, you know.
Yeah, maybe.
It's weird. I don't know. But anyways, that's also part, aside from the assault, why that sale would not go through by the end of this episode. But okay. So that happens, and then we find ourselves with like Jim and Dwight are now separate, trying to do some multitasking, and Jim is trying to get a cake.
Yep.
And while Dwight is doing the recon, what was it? The recon? Right? Recon.
Yeah.
Sure. Soldier of Recon. He finds out that Kelly was in juvenile detention for a year, right? When she was like 14.
For stealing her ex-boyfriend's dad's boat. He thought it would be romantic like Thelma and Louise. Like, part of me really would love a young Kelly show because you know that girl was batshit.
Oh, yeah. Because there's a part earlier, too, where Kelly's like, this is the saddest I've ever been. But then she alludes that her sister passed away also.
Right, and the day my sister died.
Yeah, and I always wondered what age that was at, too. But she treats it as like such an afterthought, right? She's like, oh, yeah, my sister died. Because it's not one of the sisters we see in Diwali, I think. I'm trying to remember the time frame. But like, what if those girls died?
That would be crazy, though.
Right? That they just casually kill off a character we've met.
Morbid writer just murdering people.
Oh, man. So Jim comes back and he sees that Dwight's basically interrogating Kelly about her crimes when she was young and all that jazz, and he breaks it up and is able to distract her by saying, we got you a cake. And then this is where Phil has this famous line of, there's always a theme, is because they show this just plain white frosted cake, right?
Right.
There's no name on it.
Because Jim couldn't remember if there was an L or if there was an E between the L and the Y.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you, do you recall? But I see it's in your notes here, so that's cheating.
But the thing is he was in, like, Dwight would have known because he was reading her file.
But that's why it's funny because he just got, the juvenile detention thing is too much. You can't just let that go.
And also, aren't those like generally like sealed? Like,
right, because you're like under the age of 18 or whatever.
Yeah, like.
Well, but I think that's what it is. I guess they mentioned that you are in the program, but not what for, as opposed to if you were an adult criminal and it, like, why they were in. But I don't know.
I thought I could just be wrong, but I thought like your juvenile record got erased when you turned 18.
Right.
Maybe it's a state thing. Maybe it's a Pennsylvania thing. I don't know.
Well, you don't have any criminal record in your youth, do you?
A little bit. Stupid stuff, but...
Because then we can figure it out, Jacob. Go to your work and be like, listen, do you know what I did when I was a child?
But maybe that's why she got hired, because of that, tax credit for felons.
Oh, that whole work program thing, yeah. She's the new Martin.
Well, she was the original Martin, because she was there before.
OG Martin, that's fair.
So they got a minority and a tax credit.
Win-win.
But we know that isn't true because she was there and they would have said something about it. Like,
that's right.
They would have known what that tax credit would have been.
Yeah. So there's more humor with that, but then we end up so that's that thing. I'm trying to figure out, because as you said, these episodes blur together.
Right. So that sort of wrap it up. Andy, the first part. Andy tries to kiss Julia. Yeah. And she's like, whoa, what's going on? He just spills everything. Like, I got a bad relationship. And, hey, do you just want to go walk around the mall?
I mean, I'm going to say this is terrible. It's awkward. It's uncomfortable. And I think it's a little creepy. And I understand, like, it's funny. And I know that Andy is obviously a little emotional and sensitive and not of right mind, but it's a weird scene. He tries to kiss, sure. And Julia's like, what the hell, man? And, she could have freaked out on him a lot more, but she's pretty chill about it. Good for him. And when she leaves, Andy in a talking head reveals that he didn't make the sale, which makes sense.
They lost the client.
They lost the client, right. It wasn't even the sale, but that customer is no longer their customer.
Because it kind of seemed that they had an ongoing relationship with the customer.
Right. So it's creepy. It's terrible. Andy goes back upstairs, dejected and a little worse. And I continue to say, and it's really weird because at some point I have to blame Andy. But I just feel like the writers constantly do Andy a disservice. He could have been great. And every day, they chip away at him. They make him a creepy client kisser, They make him a xenophobe, hating British people. Just terrible.
The reason he hated Nellie was because she just straight up took his job,
That's fair. Sure.
I don't think it was because she was British. I think it's because she took his job.
Yeah. Okay. You got me. That's fair. But we do. So okay. So there's a couple more things because we end up deciding too for Michael and Pam that they're going to go to Nashua, right?
Right.
Because Karen and Pam have a really good conversation.
And I love how Michael's like, "Do you remember Holly?" Like. This person who worked in this office for quite a while.
Right.
At least 6 months, like, Pam would just forget. She's blonde hair, nice boobs. All right. Holly with the perfect boobs.
Right.
Like, Pam, this is a really good set of episodes for Pam.
Yeah. Well, because, kind of like when Michael leaves, the relationship between Pam and Michael is like this, like dumb big brother, smart little sister kind of mentality,
Right.
Where maybe stupid big stepbrother, so we could account for the creepiness also at Diwali when he tried to kiss Pam. But we get the art show episode, and they have like this nice relationship, and there's obviously like a mentorship, between the two of them, both ways. And then here too, similarly, Pam is able to like be the, she's like the Lisa Simpson to Michael's Bart.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah,
he doesn't skateboard.
But I don't know, like Michael has this really weird thing with Jim and Pam. Like we'll get to it in the next episode, but yeah, it's just bizarre.
Yeah. Okay. And then Creed has a $3 bill.
Yeah, with W on the face.
Good old W. So that's where we end part 1.
Right.
Is there anything noteworthy here? I don't think so.
No.
Yeah, BJ Novak is credited but doesn't appear in the episode.
Right, and just because we missed it, Electric Circuit Part 1 and 2 is directed by Ken Kwapis and written by Mindy Kaling.
There it is. Boom.
She actually writes 3 of the 4 episodes. Well, sort of. 3 of the 4 episodes we do today.
That's right. So do we want to rate it, or let's just keep going?
Yeah, let's just rate them as 1 and 2. So
that's up.
Part 2 opens up where we find that Angela has sold Andy's ring, which is a dick move.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I've never proposed to a girl who then cheated on me, so I don't know, like, but if I had spent or had a ring that was worth $7,000, you bet your sweet ass I'm getting that back.
I think I don't know if it's a law. It must be how I heard about it, but there's like, it applies to your engagement ring in a different way than it would apply to your wedding ring. So I think the engagement ring, because of like the social contract it implies that you guys will get married, when the engagement is broken off, I think the proposer has a legal precedent to get that ring back, from the proposee, as opposed to marriage where presumably both parties get a ring or whatever, I guess, that there's no... Well, you couldn't ask for the wedding ring back,
Well, it also depends... Well, I mean, it depends on the state, but a lot of states see it as joint property, so it would be a joint asset in the divorce.
The rings would be, right? Like
right.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, but she's like, he wouldn't have wanted it back. Like, it's $7,000, woman. Come on.
It's terrible, yeah. Let's see. It's okay, so it's a state law that dictates what happens to an engagement ring. Courts generally treat the engagement ring as a gift from the donor, person who gave the ring, to the donee. To be considered a legal gift, 3 things must be present: the donor's intent to give the ring as a gift, the donor's delivery of it to the donee, and the donee's acceptance of the item. If the person to whom the ring was given can show all 3 elements, a court will consider the ring to be a gift. So that is how someone who got proposed to, like Angela, could say, no, it was a gift, I get it.
Right.
Which sounds pretty easy, actually.
But, oh, man. Grant, this is under the level, but you can only gift up to $10,000. I guess this is just something that the IRS really doesn't get too picky on, but technically, if you gift somebody a ring that's worth more than $10,000, you should pay taxes on that ring as the gift.
Well, that's crazy.
Unless it's implied that it's joint property, But
right.
Yeah, I never really thought about that from a taxation legal standpoint. But still, it's a bitch move by Angela to sell the ring without at least talking to him.
Yeah.
I mean, you still work in the same fucking office. Be like,
right, you got to see him every day.
Just leave it. Like, you don't even have to say anything. Just when he leaves for like lunch, just like, put it in his drawer and send him an email that, hey, it's in the drawer.
Yeah, something, anything other than selling it to buy a $7,000 cat.
Are there $7,000 cats? I mean, there's way too expensive everything, but a $7,000 cat?
Well, there are show cats and there are breeds. $7,000 sounds like a lot, but maybe that is the high end of it. But I have to imagine, like you said, there's expensive everything.
Yeah,
So if this was like a purebred cat from a line of royal cats in Scotland or some shit like that.
Let's see. Oh, God damn it. It's not giving me the information I want. So, yeah, I know dogs can get very expensive, but...
Yeah.
Uh...
Well, I wondered, too, if you also end up paying for the any medical care that the cat had prior to being adopted. You know, spaying, neutering, vaccinations, all that jazz.
Okay, well, there is the Savannah cat.
Oh, I've seen, yeah, those things look like wild animals. It's definitely not this fluffy ass thing.
Definitely not. The price range is $1,000 to $20,000. Actually, here the Persian is what Princess Lady looks like. You know, they start at $2,000 to $3,000. So with the lineage that she had, yeah, I could maybe see it being that expensive. But still, Jesus, I know Angel's crazy, but come on, woman.
Because it was a cat that was related to a cat from Meet the Parents.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Great.
And we also find out that she has her cats on Nanny Cam. And this premiered in like 2010, so streaming that video had to be expensive as fuck.
Yeah, I mean, because you're talking about like data transfer or like the hosting service.
Hosting, all of it.
Yeah, I mean, what is this, 2009?
Yeah, 9, 10, something like that.
When did YouTube start? 2008?
No, it was out before then.
So I know YouTube technically blew up after the Janet Jackson nipple Super Bowl.
So that was like 2005.
Really? So maybe it was 2006 that like it launched.
Yeah, launched February 14, 2005. But like live streaming video all the time. I mean, it was definitely a thing in 2009. It just wasn't cheap. You know, It wasn't like you could just have like a Twitch stream going.
Well, if the cat didn't cost the full $7,000, then maybe some of her extra buku bucks went to, you know, some security folks who installed this system in her house.
How much you want to bet she got Andy to pay for it while they were engaged?
Oh, I could see that. But I guess the thing about Angela is she doesn't like seem to be manipulative in that way. Like that, she's not really plotting, you know. I think that's why this ring thing is so jarring for everybody, because it's like something that Angela wouldn't really do, you know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah, I think we could say Andy is free of that financial responsibility for hosting the Nanny Cam servers.
Well, no, I'm saying is like he got like he put in all the equipment,
put it all together,
stuff.
right?
Yeah, like she probably mentioned something about how, you know, she really wishes she could see her cats during the day, the ones she doesn't smuggle in the file cabinet.
Yeah. Well, we never see where Andy lives, right?
No, or Angela, for that matter.
Yeah, the closest we get is this episode where we get to see this weird cat room that she's got. Yeah, because we don't ever really know like who stays over at whose place, right?
That's true.
I mean, we couldn't imagine they were living together just because they weren't intimate. So if they weren't intimate, I would imagine Angela would really want him around. So maybe he comes over for the necking.
She was, you know, sleeping with Dwight the entire time. She wouldn't want him around so she could go over to Dwight's house. Or Dwight could come over.
Yeah, because it definitely seemed like when Dwight and Angela were a thing, Angela was going over to Dwight's place more often because of the
business trip,
toothbrush, and the cherub figurine.
Right. Oh, yeah. she had her own in table and CPAP machine was over there.
That's right. It's great. Well, so there's some funny stuff that comes from this conversation about the cat, where they start talking about maternity leave.
Right.
And we find out that Meredith liked the maternity leave so much that's why she had her second kid specifically to get off.
This mythical second child we never know the name of.
Right.
If it's a boy or a girl, nothing. She just mentions it a few times.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. There's no name. That's weird. And it's obviously someone other than Spencer. Is that the son's name? Yeah.
Jake. No.
Jake.
Jake is his son. Is her son's name.
Why am I thinking Spencer? Doesn't matter. Or maybe that's the kid's real name. It doesn't matter. Who cares? Shut up, Jacob. Okay. So there's this fun cat thing going on. What else happens at the office before we get to this whole? Oh, so there's more Kelly birthday stuff.
Right, and Kelly's got this weird thing over her desk. It's like a dude with a turban and wings. Like, I don't know if it's supposed to be like an Indian god or something. I don't know, because I don't know their religion and mythos very well at all.
Right.
But it's really trippy looking.
It doesn't seem like something she'd be into, considering her, limited knowledge on Diwali itself, right?
Right, but it could have been her gift. You never know, but still, like, it's really bizarre looking.
I'm sure we talked about it before, but I think one of my favorite Kelly lines is like, Michael's listing off things of different religions, and she's like, "That's Buddhist," and he's like, "Are you sure?" She's like, "No," or like, "That's Hindu" or something. Yeah, it's great. I don't notice that poster, Jacob. I'm gonna have to look that up.
It's not a poster. It's like a figure that's like hanging, like dangling.
Oh, it's like a statuette kind of thing.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, I typed Kelly's name wrong. Kelly Kapoor desk. Let's see. So we're still kind of traversing the whole Kelly birthday thing. So that's it. What's interesting, I think, is that the Kelly stuff obviously takes place within a single day. And the actual lecture circuit stuff takes place over a couple days because of travel time and staying over and stuff. So it's not like they're timelined parallel, right?
Right, even though it's kind of shown that way.
Right.
But yeah, so Michael and Pam get to Nashua, and Michael figures out, well, one, Holly's gone on an HR retreat, which seems to happen a lot at Dunder Mifflin. Yeah. And two, that she has a boyfriend whose name is AJ.
Right.
And so he gets really depressed, and Pam's trying to comfort him, and she's like, and everyone's going to tell Holly how good of a job you did, and AJ will die, get murdered, and she'll move back to Scranton. Like, this happens a couple times where Mike gets really murdery when he's depressed.
Yeah, well, I had asked you before, is it possible that he's murdered people? And I think you said no, but I think it's possible.
I mean, possible. I just don't see Michael having the guts to actually do it, because how, like, just spineless he can be, but I could see him laying awake all night planning out someone's murder and just not doing it.
Oh, sure. That's reasonable. Yeah, I'll give you that. I guess they kind of resolve the Kelly thing is Peter's out. I mean, they're pretty clever about how they solve it, right?
Right.
They've got everybody there. The balloons and decorations look terrible, and she notes as such. And then they show the cake, and it doesn't even have her name on it.
Oh, no, it does. It's just
it does now,
wrong.
Right. But they have a chiclet on it, right?
Or something, yeah.
And it means two things, because the theme of the party is either half an hour of television or a half hour.
No,
nap.
hour.
Is it an hour?
Yeah. And someone asked if he can be a half hour of each.
Right. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. So it's an hour of television or an hour nap. And that turns Kelly around. She loves it. It's her favorite thing ever. Best day ever.
So what would you take?
It's a good point about the lack of television programming during the day. But I feel inclined to say I would still do that. There's no way I could sleep. One, they have her set up underneath the conference table.
Right.
And two, I mean, that room's not soundproof. I'm hearing everybody click-clacking out there. I no doubt someone's going to accidentally walk in forgetting I'm trying to sleep under the table. I mean, I suppose I could just chill and look at my cell phone for an hour. Right. I don't know how strict the sleeping is.
Well, I mean, if it was today and it was quote-unquote TV, you could just, like, binge Netflix for an hour.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, if it's that kind of TV. I mean, but we know what kind of TV they have from the Martin Nash episode.
Right.
Which is a barely in focus square television.
I mean, if I could actually have somewhere soft, I would sleep. I mean, I would totally sleep.
Right. And we don't know about the secret cubby hole that is in the warehouse for warehouse naps yet.
Right.
Yeah.
So back with the Angela thing, like, we hear this really crazy noise, and we find out that I don't remember the cat's name is screwing Princess
Ash.
Lady Ash.
Yeah. Yeah, so you hear like an angry cat sound, and Angela runs over, and she sees Mr. Ash is plowing Princess Lady. And it's graphic, and she says they're good cats, and Angela sprints out of the office and leaves the screen on for everybody to watch this terrible animal pornography and play in front of them.
And everyone seems to be really enjoying it. Like, Kevin is there, Creed's there, just like bobbing his head, like, yeah, cat on cat porn.
It's crazy, and it's weird.
Creed is the best kind of crazy. I love it. But then, since Angela accidentally left it open, we see her licking the cat.
Yeah, it looked like Princess Lady, the Persian, right, the fluffy one.
Right.
And she's talking to the other cats, making vague human cat sounds. It's also creepy. So she's sitting there, she's holding the cat, and she thinks she's talking to the cats, and it's mostly Oscar and Kevin who know this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they're watching the whole thing unfold, and it's...
Well, the thing, though, is like she was just ahead of her time because this company actually came out with the Lick Your Cat pet brush.
Yeah, it's like a brush that you put in your mouth and you hold the handle, and then a big plastic tongue with like spiky rivets sticks out.
Yeah.
And you kind of do this head motion to lick your cat. I have cats. I'm a cat guy. I would not buy this product. And obviously, it's not extreme enough for Angela. It's got to be tongue.
It's got
none
be
of this
tongue.
plastic stuff. Yeah.
I mean, I prefer dogs. I have no problem with cats, except I have terrible allergies.
Sure.
But, I mean, if I could have a cat, I would, as long as it wouldn't eat my guinea pigs. But
all right, that's not that's a fair trade. I'll see what I can send over.
And so, going back, Michael, he loses it. He starts going after AJ when he's while he's presenting. He's like, does she ever talk about me? And like, apparently he's never heard of Michael.
Yeah, that's a weird line.
Yeah,
I think in a context where if we didn't know that Michael was going through some emotional stuff, it would sound like some random dude making a "Does your girlfriend think about me?" joke.
Right.
Like, who knows what AJ was thinking about a comment like that.
And so he like cuts off a sleeve of her sweater, which is super crazy, and then finds this Dear Michael letter on her desktop, on her computer's desktop.
Right.
So she's on an HR retreat, but doesn't lock or shut down her computer. Like, what kind of person is this?
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, because at my office, we log off at the end of the day, but we don't turn off so that our IT firm or whatever can remote access in, I suppose, while we're away to do whatever they do. But we have to log off because of privacy.
Right.
Yeah, and you feel like she would know that, right? That's probably part of the HR rules.
Yeah.
Like, she probably has to help send that kind of information around to get people to sign to understand, like, those are the...
It was in the binder, guys. Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on, Holly.
And this is just another instance of Michael continuing to ruin Holly's things, right?
Yeah.
Takes her up, like throws out her, rips up her Billy Joel tickets, takes her out to lunch and throws out her original lunch and then her leftovers that she paid for. He cuts her sweater in this instance. Later on, we find out he'll throw a toy of hers away in the garbage. He's just always breaking her shit.
Yeah, and it was Counting Crow tickets, not Billy Joel.
Counting Crow. Well, doesn't matter why I thought Billy Joel Jacob. Doesn't matter. Okay. So then Michael reveals this to Pam, that he's stolen this Word doc off her desktop, her unprotected desktop, and he wants to read it, right?
Right. And she's like, you can't.
Yeah.
But I can. She's
Yeah.
like totally getting through her morals.
Yeah.
And she's like, what? I'm not in love. Like, she looks at the camera. I was like, what? I'm not in love with her.
And it's juicy stuff. I would want to read it.
Of course.
So
But still, I think it's funny. It's like, you can't read it. That's an invasion of privacy. But I can read it.
That's right. So they grab a laptop from the car and she reads it and she tells Michael that it's not over. She sells feelings for him. I'm hoping that Pam looked at the date this was last saved or something like that. So as not to say that this is like a Word document she created months ago or something.
Right. Yeah, that would be very good.
Yeah.
You also... Right, and I kind of wonder what it was in the letter that made her think that Holly still had feelings for Michael.
Yeah, I feel like if she listed reasons as to why they couldn't be together, and Pam felt those reasons were flimsy, like the distance thing or whatever, and maybe that's what made her feel that way. Because not for nothing, but they don't get together again until Holly moves back.
That's what, a year from now, at least in Showtime.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Holly, especially on this rewatch, the more I see of Holly, the less I like her. I think she's kind of a terrible person.
Why terrible person?
Well, because she kind of strings Michael along, and then when she does come back, she doesn't break up with AJ. I mean, granted, there could be stuff in there about how maybe she was always supposed to go back to Nashua. Right. I don't know. She just seems very self-absorbed. Like, she doesn't think about how it's going to affect other people. It's just like, oh, this is how I'm feeling, so I do it.
Those are some words. I don't know if I feel that way, but
I mean, I very much agree with Erin's talking head down the road when Holly comes back. She's like, I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Well, I mean, Holly is a pretty enough person, right? But Michael and her obviously connect on a really mental level in a way that he's never seen eye to eye with another person before, Right. I mean, aside from his extreme emotions, Holly pretty much understands most of Michael's things, right?
Right, yeah.
Actually, specifically in that episode where they end up together, they use Holly as a hound dog to track Michael down as he's lost somewhere in Pennsylvania, right?
Right.
So they see eye to eye. So that's what it is, and that's why Erin doesn't get it, because she's not in love with Holly. Erin, how would you ever know? You end up with Plop, for God's sakes.
Plop's way better than Andy. Come on.
No, get out of here. Jacob, get out of here. This show's over.
Much more age appropriate.
This show's over.
Well, we did just finish the episode, so...
So there you go. So Kelly does pick the nap,
right? I will
say. They don't reveal to Angela that they watched her do it, but she spits up cat fur.
Oscar's like, I'll never be able to unsee it, or something like that in a talking head. And I'm like, oh, yeah.
Because it's the psychological problems for someone to have to do that, yeah.
She should go into her own pocket and pay for their copay for a therapist.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just reading this trivia here. It says, despite numerous claims to have superior strength and health, Dwight's lung capacity seems to be severely below average as he appears unable to inflate a balloon. That's some office trivia for you.
And I love there's a line in there where he's like, well, if you're trying to hurt my feelings, you succeeded.
Yeah.
Luckily, my feelings regenerated at twice the rate.
It's crazy. All right, sir. So what do you give this string of episodes here?
I'm going to give it like a... See, now that we're talking about it, I'm kind of like wanting to lower my original idea again. So I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. You can get a kid for that. Because Creed tells Angela that she can get a kid for $7,000.
Yeah. That he could get her a kid for that.
Right.
Because he's the one with the connections. Yeah, you know what? I gave it a 3 out of 5 National Chainsaw Massacres. Yeah, I mean, it's an important episode because it kind of reminds the audience that Holly is still a thing and that there's foreshadowing that it's very much in play.
Right, and it's one reason why it's another reason why Michael is so excited that she's coming back when she does come back.
That's right, because he knows that like it's possible that it could be a thing with them.
Right.
Okay, so there you go. Yeah, it's long. I mean, did it need to be that long? The Karen stuff is important because it informs Michael to behave the way he does to see Holly. But that's pretty much all he does that last episode. So
right,
it's
and it's nice that they kind of wrap up the Karen thread. They're like, oh, she's happy. She's got a husband, a kid,
Yeah.
She's over being mad because she's happy, that kind of stuff.
Right. Okay, so next up we've got Blood Drive. Mm-hmm. This was written by Brent Forrester and directed by Randall Einhorn.
Right.
So, cold open. Oh, okay. Yes, I did this. So I was watching this episode, right? And the cold open just happened. And then my brother walks in through the front door. And he goes, "Hey, brother." And I go, "Hey." And then my girlfriend does it. And his girlfriend's with him, but my brother watches The Office, so he got it. So he returns back the hey, and now my brother's girlfriend's just standing there looking like extremely confused. She's like, I don't understand what people are doing. But this dude shows up to the office to sell like an advanced phone systems that could like basically do her job as a secretary.
Oh yeah, her job at this point is obsolete besides greeting people. Right. But you do need someone in the front of the office to take those phone calls, the general phone calls, be a gatekeeper, have someone there when someone walks in, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, because the thing too is like that Kelly could do that as customer service, but Pam handles like the internal office phone calls and stuff like that. Like Kelly's not talking to suppliers, for example, Right,
but it's also one of those things where if it's a really small problem, I'm sure Pam can just fix it instead of having to ship it back,
Right, yeah. Yeah, I mean, because I don't know, your office, probably you work for fancy companies also. But, it's like one of those things where you call in and it says dial X for the sales department, dial Y for, customer support or whatever.
And
then enter the extension you want.
Maybe I should call our corporate number and see what
happens. That's fair. Yeah, that'll do it. I actually am the voice of ours.
Oh, it's
terrible.
Fancy.
So
so call in to J Ray's company.
To my job. Yeah, if you've caught up with Great Scott, Dangerous to Go Alone, and you want to hear more of my voice, just call my job and you'll hear me saying, "Thank you for calling Mobile Ball." It's terrible.
Extension 555.
Yeah. So Jim sees what's happening, and he knows Pam's kind of worried about it, and presumably Pam's been pushing this guy off for a while, right?
Right. And so he acts as Michael.
Yeah.
And what I love is that he gets it just perfect. Like he's acting just like Michael would. And we see this innate ability in season 2 when he gives a reference for Dwight during the Christmas episode.
Yeah. Apparently, John Krasinski is like pretty good at impressions, at least on the set, because he would do impressions of just people who work there. that's where the Stanley impression came from, because he would do that too. And then similarly, in season 3, before Jim goes on the job interview, Kevin's asking him who's hotter, right?
Right.
So apparently so Jim's doing this thing where he's all like, what else, or whatever. Apparently that's Greg Daniels.
Nice.
Because in like the writer's room when they were all pitching ideas or whatever, that's what Greg Daniels would do. So John decided to do that as Jim on the episode.
Right.
So, he's very good at impressions, I suppose. And it's fun probably to be Michael. And it's funny too, because presumably this guy doesn't know Michael. Jim could have gone up there acting like anybody. He could have been himself, just say he's Michael Scott,
Right.
Yeah. But so he's talking to the guy, but then Michael comes out of his office to kind of see what's going on, who the guy is or whatever. And instead of Jim trying to push Michael away or something, he, for whatever reason, he decides to do a Fonzie. So he just leans back and gives him the 2 thumbs, and he goes, hey, and Pam joins in, and Michael loves it, and he does it. The guy's confused, and then Dwight comes out of nowhere, and he gives him one, and the guy ends up leaving. And Jim saves Pam's job, but now Michael is off to do it to someone else, he said.
Right. So, yeah, he just knows how to play Michael so perfect. It's probably one reason why he still has a job.
Yeah, that's fair too, yeah. So it's Valentine's Day. A lot of the office is actually kind of mopey this particular Valentine's Day. There's a lot of single people in the office. Michael, Kevin, Kelly, Angela, Oscar. None of them are in a relationship, so they're very sad this day.
Right. Like everyone is single, quote unquote, at least according to Michael, so.
Right. Which means that I guess Oscar and Gil officially broke up. I don't think we hear that.
Right.
Once he comes back.
I was wondering about that too, because I don't remember anyone saying or him saying that they had broken up.
Right. So Michael notices though that Pam has a small little basket of flowers from Jim on the desk. And he's like, "Oh, that's really nice," and he puts them on the floor. He's like, "Let's just put them here."
Right.
Yeah, and so it sets up this separation of the office of the happy people and the sad people.
Which apparently the only happy people is Phyllis, Jim, and Pam.
That's right.
In the perfect relationship, and Michael seems to start to say something about being a part of their relationship, and Pam just jumps. Is like, "You cannot be a part of our relationship."
Right.
So
it's a question that's come up before, obviously, right?
How does Michael want to be involved in this relationship?
He just wants to hang out with them on Friday nights, maybe go out to some, double dates minus his own date. And then, maybe later that night he'll just sit in the corner of the room while they do whatever it is that they do.
Well, I wasn't going to go there, but yeah, it seems like he really wants... It seems like he really wants to, screw Pam. Which I can't blame him there, but still... it seems like this really unhealthy obsession with Pam.
I wasn't going to go there.
Hey, man, you open those floodgates. It's on now.
Well, I think it's one of those things where Michael has this weird thing where he likes to live through other people or experiences, Right.
So he wants relationship vicariously or something.
Right. So that's what I think it is. It's not so much that he really wants to watch them bang or even participate in the banging. But, it's like he knows they're happy and he knows he wants to be happy. So if he could be like a father figure in their relationship and stuff,
Yeah, that's
probably what it is. But not today. Today he's not having any of it. He wants them to hide their shame.
Right.
So Pam...
everyone is really hurting, and especially Michael, because of his great capacity of emotion.
That's exactly right. So Jim, Pam, Phyllis, and Bob Vance go out on a couple's dinner, while the rest of the office decide to have a Lonely Hearts party.
Right.
And they were going to have a regular Valentine's Day party, but they just destroy all of the decorations and make it a sad party instead, where singles in the office park kind of come.
Right.
Now, the inception of this particular event, though, is because Michael has a chance meeting with a woman during the
blood drive.
That's right, which is just outside the office door in a fancy truck where they give away cookies and they use Band-Aids.
Right. I don't know the actress's name, but she plays one of the main characters in The League, which is a hilarious FX. At least it was FX. It might be on FXX or whatever now, but still, she was in that. She's great. But man, I don't like giving.
Catherine Aselton.
Aselton.
Okay. Well, she's credited as the Glove Woman. So.
Right. Yeah. So I used to work for the Red Cross, and I still refuse to give blood.
There you go.
It makes me sick. Like, to give blood. Like, I would be Michael. I would just pass out, even if I ate and everything. Like, it just does not agree with me to take blood. And
is it a needle thing?
No, it's not a needle thing. It's just like, even if I like go give blood, like have blood taken for like tests at the doctor,
right?
Like, I won't get sick, but I won't feel well for the rest of the day. It's just one of those things. But it is very common for people to get sick after giving blood. Like, I've seen it because I used to have to go out on these blood drives all the time. So, like, it's probably like 1 in 10 people, if not more than that, get sick after they give blood.
Oh, okay.
So it's a very common thing if you get sick and when you give blood.
Good to know. Yeah, so Michael walks on and meets this woman who's also giving blood at the moment, and they have some good conversations, and Michael's quick to fall in love with people, so he falls in love with this woman here. Easy.
Well, she was really nice, and they were joking. Like all you got to do is laugh at Michael's jokes, and you're in, pretty much.
That's right, because that's what happens with Date Mike, right? On that weird double date at that bar. Yeah, so they give blood and they have some jokes, but then when Michael's done, and it's weird because he seems to be done first, even though she's already sitting down going or whatever.
Here's another fun fact.
Okay.
Blood, people bleed at different rates.
Oh.
So it's something like the fastest they've ever pulled a pint out of somebody is like 3 or 4 minutes, and the slowest is like 12. So, that's for him to be done first is not a big deal. There's actually a very wide range for people. I mean, it's, heart strength, height, because, heart's got to push the blood farther, know. Yeah, there's all sorts of factors, and just some people are fast bleeders, some people are slow bleeders.
Huh. Well, write that down in the Jacob Wiki, please. He's very knowledgeable about blood dripping speeds. So he tries to get up, but he passes out.
Because he hasn't eaten in like 4 days.
Yeah, which is great. And by the time he comes to, that woman is gone and presumably left a glove. Now, I don't know why she would have left a glove.
Maybe it was in her pocket and fell out.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my point, it could be anybody's glove, though. Like any woman's glove.
It could have been anybody's glove, yes. But he assumes it is hers. There is no, tag. Or he would have known where to find her.
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like his goal to find out...
So, since we've kind of seen around Dunder Mifflin at this point, we know there's not a lot around there in terms of business.
Right.
So you would assume this woman is from the office park, right?
Yeah, well, the party's just for the office park itself, which is more than just this building, right? Presumably buildings in the area. Right.
So, I mean, it wouldn't have been that hard for him to just be like, hey, hit a couple of businesses around there, be like, hey, so lost his glove at the blood drive. I'm trying to return it to her. It seems weird, but that's more active, I guess, and that also is kind of creepy. So I don't know.
I mean, that's what the prince did in Cinderella, which is basically what this story is, right?
Well, yeah, but he was also the prince. He could order.
Jacob, Michael Scott is the regional manager of Dunder Mifflin Paper.
He's one of the 5 families.
Yeah, I mean, he could go around knocking on anybody's door. He initiated prima nocta on Phyllis's wedding day. All right, this guy is a king among kings. Anyways, so this Lonely Hearts Party basically is a way for Michael to invite a bunch of single people, hoping that this woman would walk through the door.
Right.
Reasons why she doesn't walk through the door later could include that this is not her glove. She didn't see the invite. She didn't want to go, or she's possibly in a relationship.
Right. I mean, we don't know if she was in a relationship.
And we don't know if she found Michael to be somebody that she would want to spend time with outside of giving blood anyway. She does say you're cute, but that is not it's not an invitation.
Well, but I don't think she was referring to cute as in looks. It was more of a you're cute, you're nice kind of. You're cute.
Right, yeah. Yeah, because they weren't looking at each other at the time, and he's doing his bag of blood bit. Real funny, Mike. Real funny.
Think about a hat full of soup.
Yeah. So we go to lunch at this fancy place.
Right.
And our couples are regaling of fun conversations and moments together on this Valentine's Day.
Mm-hmm.
We find out that Bob's bowled very highly once.
A 280.
And very lowly ones.
Yeah.
Which I don't know what it was. That was the joke, though.
Under a 70, yes.
Yeah, some type of abysmal score. Now, I don't know what I average. It's probably a 70. So I don't see what's so funny about it.
My personal best is a 264.
Right.
And I used to be like a 192 average. So I used to be pretty decent at it.
Okay. Right.
But every once in a while, you'll have one of those games where you just blow up. You're just like, split. Like every frame's a split. You're like, well, screw it.
Yeah.
It's just a bad game.
I imagine if you're good at bowling, it's different. But since I'm not good at bowling, yeah, you go and sometimes you're on and sometimes you're not. And you bowl granny style, or you'll try to be like a professional, or you get it in someone's lane by mistake. And I don't know. I haven't found a way that works consistently yet. But they're having a good time.
Right.
But then Phyllis and Bob have to go to the bathroom. You know, they're old. They can't hold it in as long as these young people can. So
young whippersnappers.
That's right. So they go to the restroom, but they've been gone a long time.
Right.
Presumably one of them died. No. They're gone for a while, so Jim and Pam are trying to figure out like what to do because they're hungry. They wanted to go out to lunch, and what's the etiquette on food consumption while people are in the bathroom?
Yeah. I mean, part of it's how long have they been gone?
Right.
You know, like, I mean, I would definitely eat a little bit at that point, but I mean, we know from later in the episode that they're banging in the handicap room.
Yes, they are.
Which, you know, that's probably at least 10, 15 minutes that they're gone. That's just rude. I mean, you're out on a double date. Don't fuck in the bathroom. That's just mean. That's just rude to the other couple. Wait till you get home.
It's Valentine's Day, Jacob. Come on.
Still.
Okay, so we know that they're banging. That's fine.
Right.
But because you put out a time frame, 10 to 15 minutes, and that can be perceived as rude, is it rude because of what they're doing, or is that too long?
It's just too long. Yeah, I mean, you're out there. You're supposed to be enjoying the company of others. It's rude to just disappear for that long.
Now let me ask you another question. You are hit with an extreme need to BM.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
so you go because obviously you're not going at the table. That too is rude.
Well, I mean.
So, but you go.
But you're worth it. You got to give like a signal to Pam to let her know that it's okay to keep the conversation moving, right?
Okay, so there should be a some type of hint or signal when you leave that you may take some time, but for people not to be alarmed, right?
Right, or just now, the texting was a thing by now. I mean, he could just be like, "Hey, this is going to take a while. Go ahead and start eating."
Well, that's my follow-up question. You're sitting on the toilet now. It's been 10 minutes. Do you send them a text? Or at least Pam? Because I guess we're assuming Jim's the one taking a deuce. Apparently Pam doesn't poop, Jacob. So Jim's sitting on the toilet there. He pauses his brick breaker or snake game on his old flip phone, and he goes, hey, listen, it's taking a little bit longer than I thought. Just if the food's there, you could eat. He should probably do that at 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, in general, within the first minute or two, you know if you're going to be there a while.
Right. Okay. All right, listen, I think this is important stuff to talk about, all right? I know that's not what the point of this show is, but since we're talking about restaurant couples etiquette, I'm just trying to figure out the whole pooping situation. So good to know.
But, come on. I mean, you know you're going in there to do that. It's a big question mark. So you just like, hey, honey, it's just if the food shows up, go ahead.
Right. Now, this is a thing that makes a lot more sense when you're in a relationship for a little bit longer. What if this is like your second date?
Well, like you're
like you're not at a level maybe where you want to talk about your defecation habits with your your partner there.
So
unless you bring that out early, Jacob. I don't know. I don't know how you won your wife over. I don't know if it was some early pooping habits that you revealed, but
I mean, yeah, then but if you excuse yourself by yourself and you're gone for a while, everyone just kind of assumes it. I mean, it is kind of weird that they're gone together for that long, you know?
Right, because then I think, like, if only Phyllis was gone, you'd ask Bob.
Right, it's like, right, yeah.
Yeah, okay, all right. So, they're boning. Doing it hardcore in the handicap stall. Actually, the whole handicap bathroom is locked and closed off for their Valentine's Day lovemaking.
That's why I'm always scared, like, because you always see that, like, family bathroom.
Right.
Places, like, I'm always scared to, like, go in there if I have to, because there are times where you just have, you have to.
And you're worried about seeing Bob Vance and Phyllis Lappin Vance banging on the changing station?
Or something, other fluids or things that shouldn't be in a public bathroom.
In any bathroom, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's you. If you're going to the bathroom in public, you're always accepting a risk. It's why your parents try to instill in you go before you leave.
Well, right, and they don't want to stop. So
no. So okay, so they're doing it. They go back to their table, and by the time Bob and Phyllis come out, their hair is all ravaged and crazy, and
they're all flushed, and Phyllis is short of breath, and
they're thirsty and they're hungry, and too preoccupied to realize that they've been eating Bob's French fries. So
right, and part of Phyllis's steak is gone.
Yeah. So they were preoccupied, but that happens, and that's great, I guess.
Right. So back at the office park, the party has started. These two women walk in, a redhead and a blonde, and Dwight obviously goes after the shortish blonde woman,
right?
Because Dwight definitely has a type. That's
right.
But Dwight with women in this show is so bizarre. Either they're like blowing and going from the word go, or he's just super fucking awkward, and he's such a weird dichotomy when it comes to women. Like, he's immediately making out with the Jersey State girl, but like this girl, he's just like, even before he realizes that he can sell her paper, he's all like, oh, I can untie any knot, da, 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 da. And he's like, oh, you shouldn't believe everything you hear.
Right. Did you say blow and go? Is that a phrase?
Blowing and going, yeah.
Okay, all right.
It might be a southern thing.
Because he's on, right? So
he's blowing
he's
and
Johnny
going.
Bravo in his way, and then the chicks are doing what they do, and then he's going. Okay, got it. Dwight is a blow and goer. Yeah, no, I agree. It is weird. It's not really consistent. And although I guess actually there is a bit of a consistent, because he always acts the same. It's the oddities in the women, right?
Right.
Because he's not really acting too different to this woman as he did to the Jersey State girl, who he was very dismissive of. And maybe what it is those individuals have like a thing where, you know, they kind of like the chase or something like that. I don't know. It's hard to. It's tricky.
So,
thing.
According to TalkLikeATexan.com, blowing and going is an old-fashioned East Texas expression. So, blowing and going means dashing around all busy without stopping to take a breath. So it's just like you hit the ground running. It's right. That kind of expression.
Okay.
Sorry, I always forget that I will give expressions that just no one will ever heard of.
No, listen, I appreciate it. I love to learn more about this wonderful country we live in.
That's another thing to add to the wiki.
Yeah. Now, when I was in high school or college, I worked with a guy who was from Iowa, and he used to call soda pop all the time, and that like blew my brain. He was like, "What kind of pop do you want?" I was like, "Ben, you shut the hell up. You say soda, you don't offer me one at all."
In Oklahoma, it's pop. In Texas, it's Coke. Everything's a Coke. What kind of Coke would you like?
Terrible. The correct name is carbonated beverage. Just kidding. Okay. So, so these two women show up, and Dwight and Kevin kind of split up, and they go for who they like, and Dwight's trying to woo this blonde woman. Eventually, that devolves into him trying to sell her paper because she works for a company that prints something. I forget what they print.
Textbooks or something like that? I think it was
something with like a lot of paper, yeah. So his salesman brain turns on, and he's like, I got to sell this.
Well, he realizes it, like he gets like his O face. He's like, oh, yeah, the white whale.
Yeah. And no one's ever said, too, that she is in a position to buy paper. She just works for this company that does this thing. So.
Right.
The other woman, Lynn, who will show up again later, kind of ends up pairing off with Kevin, and Kevin he like blows it like 3 times instantly, right?
Right, but it's really cute. Like I really like Kevin here. Like he's not he's not like skeezy or anything. Like he's honestly kind of into this girl, and he doesn't know what to do, and it's like that cute sort of just like not knowing what to do.
Right. Yeah, I mean, because it's weird because we know Kevin is like a bit of a pervert.
Right.
Like Pam wears glasses one day, and he's like, "Can you say these are due back on Thursday?"
Right.
And yeah, it's weird. So yeah, it is nice to see him be like genuinely into this woman. Michael's trying to be the Cupid for all these situations, and
shooting Cupid Sparrow.
I know, which I feel like I didn't absorb that the first time I watched it, but it was like the second or third time I'm like, because he like starts singing it, right? He's like, "You got hit with Cupid Sparrow." Like he just does not get it at all. He tries to pair off Meredith with some poor Asian guy.
Yes, because apparently tool and die is a lot like getting a total hysterectomy.
That's right. It doesn't seem to work out for any of them except for Kevin. He's the only one who walks away kind of happy at the end of that. But this woman never shows up with the glove, right?
Right.
And he's kind of sad, and everybody is picking up on that, though, so they're stepping up, and they're trying to make him feel better. Right. They give him some cake. They offer to wait with him.
Oh, and that cake looks so good. Like I think it was like a red velvet. Yeah, I was like, oh, give me some red velvet, which I can't eat because I'm allergic to chocolate.
Add it to the Jacob wiki, guys.
But it was a really good scene where they stay with Michael, and then he's gonna stay longer, and then Oscar's like, no, we'll all leave together, right. And I thought that was really, really good.
Yeah,
good scene.
Yeah, it was a nice moment. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean that's about the end of
Yeah, there's a closing bit where Stanley and Phyllis are trying to scam cookies.
Yeah, and they, the only reason they get foiled is because they didn't know what the correct bandage was.
Right.
They do like the masking tape and cotton ball, but it was Band-Aids. So.
And you see Creed stealing a blood bag.
Oh god, it's so gross. Yeah, he's just got a whole bag of blood with like all the cabling and stuff sticking out of his pocket.
Yeah, that would cause like a lockdown if that were to happen.
Yeah, right. Like once they started like going through their inventory and realized that the paperwork didn't match with the blood contents, right?
Right, and yeah, I mean, I don't want to get this number wrong, but there was like 8 scans of the blood bag, I think, or 10 scans of the blood bag during one person's blood drive.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, I mean, it's human fluids. It's highly regulated.
Yeah, that is reasonable. So what'd you give this episode then?
This is a good one. I wasn't as good as I remembered. Like, I like it, but it wasn't as funny as I thought it was. So I gave this a 2.75 out of 5 lopsided bodies.
All right. 2.75. Okay. Yeah, I think I liked it a little bit better. Similarly, not a lot happens, but it is kind of a more fun nonsense episode to watch. So I gave it a 3 out of 5 cold meals. Wasn't bad. Some funny bits, and then it's just always funny when Phyllis is actually being the easy rider that she once was.
Right.
Oh my goodness. Don't say that out loud. Okay.
Lastly, for today, we have Golden Ticket, written by Mindy Kaling and directed by Randall Einhorn. Just like not a very diverse episode when it comes to writer directors.
Yeah. So the cold open here is some jokes, right?
Yep.
Michael's kind of going off and he's saying some offensive jokes, and then
he's trying to he wants to do a knock joke, but
right.
Pam's on the phone.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And no one wants to yeah.
Right. She hangs up the phone because he's like messing with her. He's like, Michael, that makes it sound really unprofessional. He's like, oh, they'll never know it's me.
Right. So then we start with this a great knock joke, a very iconic office knock joke, and it's the KGB.
Mm-hmm. Knock. Who's there? KGB. KGB. And Dwight slaps him. The KGB will wait for no one.
And Michael is so
no. That's Jim's. It's no KGB will ask the questions.
That's right. Yeah. Michael is so mad, and Jim's like loving it.
Right. So he gets it. He does it to Dwight, and he slaps Dwight. It's like the KGB will wait for no one. And it's a meme you see a lot, or a GIF. It's just Dwight hand on his cheek, looking at the camera, going, "It's true."
Yeah.
It's so perfect. It's like this perfect deadpan delivery. He's not even mad. He's like, well, he's got a point. The KGB would wait for no one.
Right. It's like a joke with no punchline because it's too real for Dwight.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So we are treated to Michael in a huge purple suit with a big old top hat, dancing around like a fool, putting golden certificates in different pallets of paper,
right,
in the warehouse, and he's doing a Willy Wonka shtick,
right, which is from which I assume anyway, is from the 1971 Gene Wilder classic.
Right.
Which I actually just bought on Blu-ray, so I'm kind of curious to see how that. It was like $3 at Target. I'm like, oh, you're coming home with me.
Yeah, hopefully it's not too grainy. I think that was a complaint with the Ghostbuster Blu-rays. Is like some of those older flicks get grainy. Anyways, Michael's probably watching on VHS. He's not very tech savvy.
Well, yeah, but I don't know. I have the Ghostbuster Blu-ray. I thought it was a pretty decent the special effects get really wonky, but the rest of the film is pretty good.
Right. That's just because it's dated, though, right?
Right. And some of those, how they did the old special effects were really weird because a lot of times they would actually layer film on top of each other.
Right.
Then scan it. So, yeah, like some of the Star Trek The Next Generation special effects were 9 different layers of film that they had to scan. That's why, like, the Blu-ray conversion was really difficult, stuff like that. So,
there it is. Thanks for joining us this week, guys. I'm just kidding. It was my fault. I did it. Okay. So each golden ticket has a 10% coupon that is presumably going to different customers.
right.
These customers will open up their goods and find this coupon, and it's just supposed to kind of generate goodwill amongst their customers.
Right.
Michael's being super annoying about it. He's yelling about jelly beans and how they're extraordinary. He's dancing around like a fool and being annoying to people. And the first customer receives their discount, and it's Jim's customer.
Right.
And we find out it is Blue Cross of Pennsylvania, which is
huge.
one of a big company in and of itself, but one of Dunder Mifflin's largest customers as like a whole. Like in the level of like corporate cares about this particular customer.
Right. Well, that's got to be 20,000 employees kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. So, Michael finds out and goes to Oscar and he's like, well, what's 10% out of like, their annual order? And it's
right. And that's what's crazy about this is you would figure it would have been just like a one-time, like one order, right? But he did it for the entire year.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, the episode aired in March. So I'm trying to figure out how that would make sense. I mean, I guess moving forward,
the way it was phrased was, it sounded like it was a year, like 12 months of discounts.
Right. No. Right. But I mean, like, so does that mean every time they place an order, it's 10% off? That's
right.
Like the easiest way to do it.
Right? Yeah. So it's right. And so instead of just, here's 10% off your next order, it's here's 10% off for a year. Right.
Yeah. So that's bonkers. And Oscar said it's going to hurt. It's not going to be great.
Right. So
in
2012, they had 19,500 employees.
Yeah.
So so probably like 17,000 employees, something like that.
Yeah. Just then, Jim announces that they found 5 of these golden tickets, which is all 5 of the golden tickets Michael had.
Right.
Meaning that this customer gets 50% off because there's no fine print that says only 1 coupon per customer.
Mm-hmm.
And it's terrible. It's going to be the worst thing ever. So Michael runs downstairs to start yelling at Daryl.
Idiot.
Start over. Yeah. And Michael is 100% sure he put it in different shipments. He knows because they were not next to each other. Daryl says, well, they send out, what is it, like a couple pallets to Blue Cross every week.
It's like 3 or 4 pallets.
So if Michael is just opening up random boxes on a single pallet, thinking they're going to different things, one, he has a terrible misunderstanding of how shipment works in freight.
Yes. Yes, he does.
Yeah. And then 2, obviously just shows more of his tenuous grasp of his company's own business model,
Right. He's got no idea.
Yeah. He just goes down, puts huge discounts in these orders and walks away not knowing anything bad could possibly happen. But,
right. And another thing is, like, I know I get it. He wanted to do the whole finding it thing.
Right.
But wouldn't it be better to, like, do it in person? Like, give them a certificate for 10%. Like, hey, we let you do the whole get up in the Willy Wonka Willy Wonka thing. Knowing Michael, he would hire some short people or kids to paint themselves orange and be Oompa Loompas.
Right. He'd want YouTube to come down and
exactly.
Yeah, I mean that what you're saying is what that is good marketing. that is what should have happened.
But it is not a golden ticket idea.
No, it is not. So this is terrible, and David Wallace is pretty upset because this is humongous. I mean, 50% of your biggest customer is almost as bad as losing your biggest customer.
Oh, it'd be worse because, I mean, there's no
they
way.
Can order more, right?
Well, if they order enough, the margins will get big enough, right? Which is what eventually happens. But on the surface, you're looking at like, your margins are probably only like 7, 8, maybe 10%. I mean, I don't know what the profit margins are, but all of a sudden you're losing 40% on every order instead of, if you lost the customer, you wouldn't be losing. You'd be losing the revenue, but you wouldn't be losing money on the inventory, right?
That's right. Yeah. So it's terrible. This could be catastrophic for all of Dunder Mifflin.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where if it hadn't have worked out the way it does, I mean, Grant, we don't know how big, is Blue Cross their biggest customer at 5%, or are they like 25% or whatever?
Right. Because like maybe they have way more customers, but they're the only ones that take up such a big chunk. But yeah, if it's most of the revenue for the year in that capacity.
Right. I mean, it's one of those things where it has the ability to, depending on how big it is, to sink the Scranton branch, like completely just, and I mean, with the volume that they could order in, could sink Dunder Mifflin total because of all the losses.
Yeah. So now Michael is trying to figure out how he can blame this on everybody else, right?
Right, because David Wallace calls and is pissed, obviously pissed.
Right. So he calls another conference and he has everybody inside and he's all like, I am just all your bad ideas just bounce off me. And
I'm like an idea sponge for all your crappy ideas or something.
Yeah. And so he tries to, eventually decides he can blame Dwight.
Right, because he like knows Dwight will do it.
Yeah, he's loyal to the company, he's loyal to Michael. He'll bite that bullet. Dwight, however, actually takes really good notes about his daily interactions with people.
Right.
Because he has a journal to keep secrets from his computer. And in it, he has, like, the day Michael says, this is my idea.
Right.
This is what we're going to do.
This is sort of like, I mean, this is Michael at his worst. I mean, just far and away at his worst,
Right.
And it's the last really giant, crazy, stupid thing that Dwight agrees to do for Michael.
Right.
So he doesn't even, we don't even know that he's agreed to do it.
Right.
Because he doesn't get the chance to do it. But what I do love is that in this situation, he sees that Michael isn't going to defend him, and he takes the credit for the idea from Wallace.
Right.
And so he's just like, you know what? You weren't going to do the right thing, so I'm not going to do it either, and I'm not going to help you out.
That's right. Right. And again, another instance of furthering the wedge between Dwight and Michael for this impending Michael Scott Paper Company story arc, right?
Right. And, okay, so here's another just sort of off the, tangential thing. So this is so good that Wallace wants Dwight to talk to marketing, right? Like, this is big idea, huge.
Right.
He said this is going to be big for the company. How big of a windfall did this end up being for Jem?
Because he makes commission, right?
Right.
Yeah, that is a good point.
Is this like, does this end up being like an extra 30, 40, 50% commission kind of thing? Or, like, I mean, this is a huge deal. So Jem probably made a good ton of money off of this switch, which we assume continues in perpetuity.
Right. That's a good point, because this episode doesn't really resolve for him in that context.
Right. No, it never comes up.
And obviously, there's no reason why Blue Cross would order more because they have a discount. They would take advantage of being able to get the same amount of product that they need while cutting costs for their annual budget or whatever.
Well, right, but what they did is they made Dunder Mifflin the exclusive provider.
Right.
So they end up ordering more because it's cheaper than everyone else.
Right.
So yeah, it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
So then the question is, does Jim lose out, obviously, this 1 year, but make up for it in the subsequent years?
Well, I mean, since they're going to be ordering everything going forward, you probably took a hit like that quarter, but started making it up in the next quarters, I would guess.
I mean, what kind of document would anybody have to sign to make someone an exclusive provider of service?
I mean, it's just it's a policy that you could only order from these people.
But that's Blue Cross's policy.
Right, it's Blue Cross's policy, right.
But they could change that whenever. So them saying this thing that makes David so happy today could be wrong in 6 months when there's another embarrassing watermark boner.
That's true. That is true. Right. But,
like,
you know,
no
for
contractual
half off,
obligation.
half off, companies will put up with a lot of shit from suppliers for half off.
Yeah, that's fair. I suppose you're right. Right, because what's the point of going to a provider you can't confirm who has good service, dealing with all of their oddities for the first time, as opposed to working with a company that's giving you 50% off that maybe has a mouse and a duck bone in Bob Vance style.
Right, but that's only once every so often.
Yeah. Well, they let that Debbie lady go after her mess up, so hopefully they hired someone better.
Well, and one thing I do love is so they pull Dwight out, and make David makes this announcement to everybody in the office,
right?
And Michael's getting just pissed off, right?
Right.
And Jim jumps in, and I think Jim, because you get this sense that he's upset with Michael for doing this,
right.
And so he's just like, "Oh yeah, good job, Dwight."
Yeah.
And then Pam jumps in and gives him a hug, and that just really incenses Michael because the other Pam stuff we've already discussed. It's like, thanks for saving the company.
Yeah. I know. Well, not for nothing, but again, David Wallace is someone who doesn't live in the Dunder Mifflin Scranton office world.
Right. So
presumably he's a regular person. So when this stuff happens, you feel like he would notice some type of oddity in everybody's behavior, but he kind of plays along too, because I guess he's particularly happy about it, right?
Right.
Yeah. Also, I was trying to think, as a marketing person myself, if one of my company's sales reps came up with a good idea, would they be forced to meet with us? Because it seems weird that Dwight comes up with this one idea and get him on the phone with marketing immediately, as if it wasn't just a one good idea. He's full of good ideas.
Right, but as we know, in the whole thing, that Dunder Mifflin's struggling.
Right.
This is why he sent Michael out on the lecture circuit. He's looking for anything to help.
Right. And to answer my own question, my company would do that. If a sales rep was like, "Hey, I sent out this email with a cat gif in it," they're like, "Oh, great. You got to talk to J-Ray because give him that idea." Stupid. Anyway, so they set up this call, and it's just David, Dwight, and Pam to take notes.
Who's taking diligent notes.
Right. And they're on the phone, and then the marketing guy say, "Hey, is there a dog there?" or something. David's like, "No, there's no dog, but it's Michael from his office being a creep."
Right. And he eventually bursts in, starts... He's like, "No, it's not the right movie. Dwight doesn't know. It was my idea." Keeps going back and forth. We learn about Toilet Buddy and Horseboat.
Okay, so explain Toilet Buddy, previously known as Toilet Guard, to me. It's a net that catches things from falling possibly in the toilet, but is it on all the time?
I would assume there's a way to move
disengage it when you have to go.
Right. Well, this is a very poop-centric episode. It's quite funny.
It's human nature, man. That's
right. So that happens, and
horse boat.
This would, because Dwight says he made me do this, he made me take the fall, etc. And this would 1 billion trillion % get Michael fired. I mean, no, coercing an employee, intimidation of an employee, all this stuff would have gotten him fired, right? And this
on paper in this own context, right?
Right, but this actually sort of sets up something for Wallace's character, where he puts up with more than he should if that person is doing something he's okay with. So right. Michael is producing, but he should be fired. But he's producing, he's afraid to mess it up. The same with Andy and his boat in season 9,
Right.
So this is actually a very good feel for Wallace and how he handles people.
Right.
Like Michael probably should have been fired so many times, but since he is producing, he doesn't let him go.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I never thought about it in that context. Boom. It's gone.
So David's like, look, don't send me the notes. This never happened. So he just pushes under the rug. And this is actually the last episode before Charles shows up.
Yeah.
So I wonder if this is like the straw that broke the camel's back to get that buffer between him and Michael.
Yeah, right. That makes sense. And I would say probably.
And, maybe it was one of those things where they were always going to hire Charles, but they gave him that more hands-on role to be the buffer,
Right, because again, Charles is basically Ryan and Jan, right? But like you said, he's more directly involved in specifically Scranton's.
Right, because, instead of him being in New York, he's in Scranton for, a good amount of time.
Right, because he was going to be there for at least a couple of days originally, right?
Right,
once
it ends up being weeks.
Right, because of the Michael Scott Paper Company split.
Well, yes. Well, it would make sense to make him the boss when Michael Scott Paper Company happens.
Right.
I guess it is the very next episode he puts in his 2 weeks. So maybe it wasn't that, but also when Michael calls for David, it goes to Charles, etc.
Right.
There is a B storyline. It's really minor with Andy and Jim and Pam giving Kevin advice.
Right.
Which culminates, which really isn't that big of a deal, but culminates with Kevin also being cute again, where he's like meets her in the parking lot. He's like, hey, I really like you. I want to take you to dinner and a movie. Would you like to do that too? She's like, yeah. He's like, looks down, like boobs. He like gets all like scared, and she smiles. And I think we never see her again after this.
I felt like we did, but yeah, maybe you're right, because I can't think of another instance we do. Maybe she comes to the Cafe Disco. I don't know. Maybe not.
She might come to Cafe Disco, but
that's something I can think of.
She seems like she was getting built up to be something it feels like an introduction of another character, but then it never
comes to fruition or something. Yeah.
So maybe something happened there.
Because stuff starts to get again crazy. I mean, the Michael Scott Paper Company stuff, is kind of crazy to me with that. And then because he's gone, they introduce Aaron. So Aaron becomes like a whole thing that everybody in the office is talking about. And so maybe it's just too many. It's hard when you're managing all these different characters who are outside of the office environment,
Right. So it's probably why I wonder if they just decided to like kill it. maybe
Right.
someone will know, or there's like deleted scenes or something. Because like there's not even like a breakup storyline where they. Yeah, I don't know.
Let's see. I'm looking. The Office, Kevin and Lynn. Lynn has her own wiki page. That makes sense. She's a great character. Yeah, they make out at Cafe Disco. In a deleted scene, it is revealed that she just wanted to be friends with him. So that was also in Cafe Disco. So in a deleted scene, they kind of break up.
Okay. Okay, good to know.
There you go.
But yeah,
Yes.
that's pretty much it.
So if I had to rate this episode, yeah, I'd probably give this like a 2.7 out of 5 extraordinary jelly beans.
Yeah, it's a good episode, but it is so awkward. Like, this is one of those that normally I'll give awkward episodes high praise, but this one, like, Michael's such a terrible person, I have a hard time liking it.
Yeah.
So I'm giving this a 2 out of 5 cowboy obsessions.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, ultimately, this is a fine round of episodes, right?
Right. Yeah, and you can definitely tell they're building into this next arc of episodes.
Right.
Because
I mean, that seems to be how these seasons go, is that, like, there's a little bit of closure in the beginning, there's the fun stuff in the middle, and then as we approach the ending, it gets a little bit more story-heavy and stuff like that.
Right, because the next 9 episodes is pretty much one story arc. So we get the new boss, we get Michael Scott Paper Company, and then sort of there's a couple episodes that wind down that story, then the company picnic happens, and boom, we're done.
Yeah, I mean, because the only thing that is non-related to that arc are, like, B storylines, I guess, but really Charles being the boss over there is, like, really permeating in the office space, and then all of the Michael Scott Paper Company stuff is always about, like, surviving, you know?
Right.
Yeah, so you're right. It's, like, really story-heavy moving forward from here. Yeah.
Yep. All right, well, thanks for coming out. You can find me at @JacobIngles on Twitter. Please email us, brokenjarsbroadcasting@gmail.com. We're on r/Dunder Mifflin on Reddit. Patreon.com/Broken Jars if you want to give us some of your hard-earned money, that we will very much appreciate. Yeah, I think that's all the things we need to plug. Don't forget, we've got other shows. We've got High Fantasy, which has me. It's a writing podcast. We have the Dresden Files podcast, which is about the Dresden Files, obviously. We have J Ray's podcast, Dangerous to Go Alone, which is like nerd life and culture.
Yep, we're doing a spoiler cast of Wonder Woman for our next episode, so be sure to check it out this weekend or next weekend, and you can catch us in like a week and a half or so.
Cool, and then I think that's it. Is that it right now?
That is the main stuff.
And we may be adding a new show. We're discussing that now, so we might have a new show on the roster soon. So
growing technology, content, soon the world.
All right, thanks for coming out, everybody.
Okay, bye.
Bye.